So we're going to go over the big ideas of chapter 27. This is the civil rights chapter, one of my favorite chapters in the book. So here are the 5 main points that you need to be able to argue and explain. So definitely get these in your notes, pay attention to how to answer them. Okay, the idea is we're going to look under Jim Crow laws, all right, the origins of civil rights, how the Cold War shaped the civil rights, how different minority groups also dealt with discrimination during this time, and then the 2 phases of the civil rights movement. All right, these are some familiar images, obviously, of the time period. What we need to remember is that a lot of what happens and fuels the civil rights movement is going to be the Jim Crow laws of the South. But it's not just the Jim Crow laws of the South, it's really the returning World War II veterans who come home and, having fought for democracy over in Germany and in Europe, kind of sick and tired of living underneath these laws. So they're gonna finally start to kind of organize, and this is also going to be referred to as the Second Reconstruction. So take note of that. The civil rights movement for African Americans influenced a lot of other minority groups during this time period. All right, the Mexican Americans, the Japanese Americans, and some other groups that we're going to talk about later are also going to fight for their rights. They're all experiencing different forms of segregation in school systems, with voting, all right, all of these different things. And they're all going to begin to organize, and they're going to model after the African American civil rights movement. All right, looking at this graphic, take note of the West Coast over here. We've got a lot of cases taking place over here, and then we've got the East Coast over here. But also pay attention to the dates, all right? So this is really spread out, starting here in 1936, all right, going all the way over 47, 50s, and then we come back over here in Virginia to 1967. All right, a lot of these cases are going to work to desegregate schools. They're going to desegregate home associations, and then eventually desegregate marriage. But the issue that you need to take note of here is that lots of these cases are still desegregating the same things. It's not a federal mandate yet, and that's going to be some of the big push that the civil rights movement is going to go for. All right, things to just take note is that there's the nonviolent movement, right? So that's obviously Supreme Court cases. Emmett Till, the reaction to the violent death of Emmett Till is definitely the nonviolence. How Emmett Till died is graphic and horrible and speaks to the rise of the KKK during this time period. We're, of course, going to have the Montgomery bus boycott, Little Rock 9, the Greensboro sit-in, Freedom Riders, Birmingham, all right, Freedom Summer, March on Selma. And then in 1968, take note that this is when Martin Luther King will be assassinated, okay? The other side of the civil rights struggle here is going to be Malcolm X, okay, who's going to believe in strong Black communities, and he's fine with violence, okay? It's really not a big problem to him until 1964, when he's going to break away from that idea, and he in turn will be assassinated by his former followers. We're going to have the Black Power come into play, and they're going to be established by Stokely Carmichael, who, if you notice, SNCC and CORE are over here in nonviolent, so he's going to take a little bit of a turn there. And then you're going to get the Black Panthers, which is the political movement started in 1966 by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale in Oakland. And their big push is to protect Blacks from police violence. So they really go for the Second Amendment in California and really fighting for that. You need to know the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Okay, this is going to say that segregation or desegregation and prejudice based off of gender, race, anything like this is going to be illegal. Then you're going to have the Voting Rights Act of 1965 outlawing literacy tests and poll taxes. All right, some other groups that were influenced by the civil rights movement, all right, were the Mexican Americans, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. You need to know them, all right, and know what they did. Okay, so the organizing union, United Farm Workers, is really important. And then the American Indian movement. Okay, we've pushed them to the sides for all of this time. We've minimized their importance, and they're going to finally take issue with this, and they're going to protest, and they're going to come and they're going to fight back. So take note of these guys. There's going to definitely be more influence that we're going to see in the next chapters, and we will get to that next week.